I told you they were going to swarm. So I was setting up my garden, and wouldn't you know it, I look out across the yard and the bees are swarming in my apiary. So where are they collecting? Right here. And they're in 2 bundles. 2 swarm collection spots, and what's going to happen is, even though there's one group here and there's another group up here, those 2 groups are going to combine later. And this is the group that I was looking at the hive earlier, and they were massed on the front of it. So I knew they were going to go. In fact, if I had just expanded the box right now, would that have changed anything and stopped the swarm? No, because by the time they're swarming out, there's already queen cells in there. And the queen cells, once they're capped, the old queen takes off before the new queens replace her, before they hatch out. That avoids queen conflict. But so I jumped off the tractor and ran over here really quick, grabbed my camera, just so I could share with you what it's like to be in the middle of a honeybee swarm. Because for me, this is the most dramatic time of year. And because they're accessible, they're only 7 or 8 feet off the ground. Let me try to get them in the shot. They're 7 or 8 feet off the ground, so they're going to be easy to collect, and I am going to put them in a hive. But what if I wasn't here and I didn't see it happen? What would happen? Well, they would just go off and establish themselves in the environment somewhere, probably replacing a colony of bees that did not make it through winter. So this is cool. It's exciting. If I was going to expand the box to prevent them from swarming, I would have had to do that a week or 2 ago. So even today, this is the first day that we've had really great weather, and you can hear them already quieting down, and that's because they're consolidating here. So I just wanted to give you a quick update. The green colony that I showed yesterday, or in my Friday FAQ, and when we're talking about the feeders, this is not the horizontal long Langstroth hive. This is a colony that made it through winter, that was actually a swarm collected last fall. So these are strong, and this is what's considered, by the way, a prime swarm. So that means it's the first swarm of the year out of that colony, and 3/4 of the population of that colony have probably come out with this group. So there's going to be, last year's queen is with them, so we know they're adapted to the local environment, and this is going to be a great group of bees to have in the apiary. And I already set out the bee box to put them in, so we're all set. So just in closing, I'm gonna just make a continuous video here and show you the swarm and the bees assembling on this tree. And this is, of course, a spruce tree. Take a look. You can just hear how quiet they're getting. And as I mentioned before, they've assembled on a couple of different spots on this tree. There's even some up here. Look at this group. Now it is possible that there's 2 queens, but more than likely they're all just collecting on this tree. And we're not going to grab them right now. We're going to wait for them to finish assembling on the tree, hopefully in one snug cluster. And then I'll come up and bag them up and we'll put them in there. And you might be wondering what colony they came from. I can tell you. This particular colony had, the entire front was covered with bees this morning. Even though there's still a cluster on the outside there, that's 10% of what was on the front of the colony. So that's where they came from. How far did they go? About 40 feet to this tree. How long can they hang out in a cluster before they absolutely have to find a home? Well, at the extreme limit, you're talking about 10 days maximum. Before they left the colony, of course, they fed up on honey, they loaded their crops. We've got wax builders, we've got nurse bees in here that have never been out of the colony before. We've got some senior bees here, and of course, scouts and foragers are out looking for a new location to be. But because we're going to provide that in a box, where are we going to put them? Let's show you that. They're going to go in this hive right here. It's already set up, a single deep. It's a flow-hive 2, cedar, and it's all ready to go. It's got better comb in it. And this is a hive that I pulled out, and of course the old hive that was in this spot now belongs to our son, about 15 miles away. So this is it. They're kind of scattered. Hear how high-pitched that is? And then listen how calm these are over here. So let's see if I'm right. We're going to come back in a few minutes, and then we're going to see if they all consolidated into one large swarm. And I hope they don't do it up there, because now that's 12 feet up. A little more challenging. I'll still get them. So remember how I said they might consolidate together and they would move? So they left this branch. And of course, to make it easier on me, they all went to the higher branch. Okay, so now we have two swarms actually. One is just flying in from the north and landing on this branch. And that's 5 feet off the ground. And this one is still hanging out, but they are 12 feet off the ground. Guess what I'm gonna do? I'm going to pick the low hanging swarm. Look at the size of these. And they're coming from the north somewhere. You can still see them coming in. So when this is an hour and a half after we did the first one, when there was a really tiny swarm here on this branch, but they moved up and joined with that group right there. And now what I'm thinking is, this group right here has more bees, and they're right here. They're right there. Never touch a swarm of bees. Don't do it. But I'm just testing their temperament a little bit. These are pretty laid back. So you know what? We're gonna get these. Let me show you how we're set up. So as I mentioned before, we're gonna put them in this 8-frame flow-hive 2. Just set up, everything is brand new, and we're gonna put an 8-frame slatted rack in it. That's gonna go on the bottom. How are we set up on the inside? We're using better comb. Why am I using better comb? Because pre-drawn synthetic wax, that will help them get started right away, and hopefully will make this appealing and they'll stick around. We're gonna have to put the inner cover on, and of course we're gonna have to feed them. So let's get the slatted rack on first. And that's what it looks like with the slatted rack on. Nice solid piece here. And these will align with the inner frames. And remember, this is just an 8-frame deep. That's what we're going to start off with, and that's the stand. Let's put the deep brood box on there. And so that's all set up. And we have the inner cover. We're going to have to put a medium super on there just so that we can put a rapid round feeder on. So we're pre-staging everything because I'm confident those bees aren't going to leave. How close are they to the bee yard? They are right there. Oh yeah, they definitely want to come and live in this box. That's what I'm getting from it. Look at the weight on the branch. I'll bet we're looking at a good 5 pounds of bees right there. We'll know better when we put them in my net. Well, while I was getting everything together, the swarm is leaving. So they left the tree. A swarm moves at about 6 miles an hour once they decide to go somewhere. We have to follow these bees, Quinn.
Where are they?
See how they're flying in the air right here? Where do you think they're headed?
They're heading to...
We have to follow them. Can you go 6 miles an hour? Can you keep up with them?
Now I lost their trail.
Yeah, tell me where they land.
Okay.
Listen to them.
Well, I'm their bee helper.
You are my bee helper.
I think they're going where they're hide them. Hey, Ma! I'm telling Grandfather I'm helping him with his bees, right, Grandfather?
That is correct. We hope they land somewhere where we can get them.
Put it over here. Oh my gosh, how did chickens get out of here?
Well, that's it. They went up over the treetops. So now we're back to the higher swarm, I guess. And this is weird. They changed their mind and they're coming back again. So they flew about 100 yards, went up over the trees, did a U-turn, and now they're going to collect on this branch again. Same branch as before. And this time I think we're going to try to get them before they change their mind again. What a fickle group of bees. So Quinn, what do you think? Are we going to be able to get them? Are these the ones that we're going to put in the hive?
Yes.
How do you know?
But they're showing me they're trying to escape and go get more honey. So we need to go put them in the hive.
We need to go put them in the hive. Okay.
Okay.
Do you like these bees? Do you think these are the best ones, or do you like the ones that are up higher?
I like both of them.
Oh, you like both of them. All right. Well, we're going to try to get these.
Yes, we are.
You can't believe you're in a bee swarm?
Yeah, 'cause look, the ones that are like, whenever they're not in the bee.
And are they bothering you?
No, I just can't believe I'm in this bee swarm. Just
Yeah.
so crazy.
Yeah, bee swarms are crazy.
I know.
Most people never see one
No. But,
because it's kind of rare unless you have bees, right?
yes, but we have more bees.
Yeah. So we'll get these in there.
I know, I just can't believe there's a bee nest.
So once we put them in the hive, we're going to have to feed them. I've got a wrap-it around feeder, and of course, as per my recent video, we put a tube sock ankle portion in there. That's going to leach the sugar syrup up to the top for the bees, and no bees will drown. So we're putting it on the deep, and we've got a medium super on hot standby here that we're going to put in, and that's going to be our feeder shim. It's going to sit on top of this inner cover, and it's got a hole perfect for the wrap it around. So let's get the swarm. And before I bring the bees over, we have to make space so we can dump them in there. We're going to pull 3 of these frames. And the slatted rack is actually a good thing to have here because it gives us extra space at the bottom. And that means that we can accommodate more bees right off the bat. And the rest we have foundationless. Got one of those Man Lake pre-wax frames, which I don't care much about. Another foundationless, acorn heavy waxed, and on the end another foundationless frame. So I've got them in the bag, and now we're going to put them right in the hive. I've also got a little handle underneath it here, so when I shake it out, I'm not pinching any bees. So we just shook them in there. There you go. Here's the bag, pretty empty now. And we've got them all over the landing board. And now we just want to button them up and make sure it's got the queen in there. And we put the frames in now, the better comb, and make sure to push all of your frames to the middle. Leave the spaces on the ends for later. And then what we can do on the edges is just blow them off as you slide the cover on. So now the inner cover's on, and we want to get that feeder in place. Scoot that bee off of there, wrap it around right on the center. We can look through and line it up. Make sure it's lined up with that hole there, and it is. And even before I put the frame on, I'm going to go ahead and fill that with syrup. So the sugar syrup's on, and we've got half a gallon of sugar syrup in there. We've got the sock, and now we're going to go ahead and blow the bees off the edges and put that medium super on. Just make sure you have no bees in your medium super, and go ahead and we're going to put a polystyrene cover on this one. Now we're all set. And now it's a waiting game to see if we have the queen in there. And this is actually a 10 frame polystyrene cover, and that's fine. It works on 8s as well. And this is just a temporary cover. Put a nice brick on top so the wind doesn't blow it off. But it provides a nice overhang in case the bees need it. These are new, some are clustered on the outside. Let's take a look at that landing board. And we've still got the net here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the net, we're going to go back to the tree and pick up any stragglers with it. So we come back over here and find out that that upper 12-foot cluster, they decided to move out, so they're gone. We made a good choice grabbing the lower one. And these are scouts returning from where we just collected this swarm from, so we're going to get the net and bag these up and make sure they make it to the new hive. So we shook that little swarm collection there into the net. And now if the queen is here, we'll see them march up the fabric and go right in there. That's what I'm hoping will happen. It looks like the queen's there, but time will tell. The good news is some of the free-flying bees from this swarm are joining the colony here. So that tells me we must have the queen. And I do see some of these bees in the bag migrating up the fabric, and they're going to start walking into the hive. So I think it was a good collection, good swarm capture. So following up here, about 6:30 at night, I have to say I don't like what I'm seeing on the landing board. I'm seeing waggle dances from scouts that are advertising, it looks to me, that they found another location they would like this swarm to go to. Well, we've done all we can. They have pre-drawn comb, they have sugar syrup, they have an 8-frame deep. Beyond that, it's really just up to the bees whether they stay or go. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a fantastic Memorial Day weekend.